Hey folks, Jimmy Cavanaugh here, coming to you, well, live for me, for IUSportCom, covering this game from Conseco Fieldhouse. I was at a Pacer game earlier today. I needed basketball in my life, assuming I couldn't travel to Portlandia with the rest of the IU team, so I'm doing it from here. But I figured there would be a good reason to shoot this rather than from my basement than from an actual basketball arena. If you're watching this when I think you are, IU's about to begin March Madness for the first time since the Dan Dockich era. Last time they played against Arkansas back in 2008, lost a pretty ugly game, ousted in the first round, and we haven't heard a whole lot from them in terms of postseason success since. Hopefully this year is a bit of a different story. First round they're playing New Mexico State, not San Diego State, New Mexico State. Not New Mexico either. I thought that too. Steve Alford, yay, no. It's New Mexico State, little-known team out of the WAC, really successful this year, won their conference tournament, and they're in because of that reason. You probably don't know a whole lot about them. Well, by now you do, actually. IU Media does a good job of that. But just to give you an idea of what this New Mexico State team's all about, Wendell McKinnis, free throws, and running. That's pretty much it. Wendell McKinnis is essentially Daryl Dawkins in a 6'6" body, playing out in some obscure Western Athletic Conference school. He's really self-confident, really likes to hear himself talk. You can follow the tweets of Dustin Dopirak, any of the stories, and really any of the IU basketball media out there. McKinnis had a pretty good time out there talking to him today. But he's also somebody that most of IU is comparing to Draymond Green. That was the first comparison out of Tom Crean's mouth. Draymond Green. He's an undersized front court player who, when they're successful, he's successful, and vice versa. And he's somebody who can go for a double-double against Indiana. Very determined, very tenacious. He can take medium outside shots. He's a very aggressive bruiser inside, and he is going to need to go off, quite frankly, if New Mexico State wants to have a shot to win. I mentioned as well that they like to run. I mentioned that they like to shoot free throws. They kind of feed off each other. New Mexico State has a ridiculously high pace. They like playing at a very fast tempo. Last time we did see IU play a team with a really fast tempo was Iowa. They came into Assembly Hall, tried to run IU out of the building. Didn't work so well. They had 100 points hung on them. So I don't know how successful New Mexico State's approach is going to be there, but they also like to get to the free throw line. Like I mentioned, they're one of the more aggressive free throw shooting teams in the country, shoot more than just about anyone else. They actually attempted, per game, more free throws than IU did this season. Not quite as effective, 10 percentage points less, actually, only 67% from the line. So really based on two teams that like to do a lot of the same things, I would say IU has the edge there. Both teams like to get to the free throw line. Even if New Mexico State does get there more often, they're a lot less likely to hit their free throws. One thing I didn't mention, rebounding. These guys love to hit the glass. Tom Crean compared McKinnis to Draymond Green. He compared their physicality, New Mexico State's, to Michigan State. They like to get on the boards, and that's something that IU is going to have to deal with. They've struggled with their offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding this year, but mainly allowing their opponents to collect offensive rebounds. So the Hoosiers are going to need to get on the defensive glass hard. Cody Zeller, Christian Watford, Victor Oladipo, Will Sheehy, all the front court guys are going to need to play a major role in limiting what New Mexico State can do on the glass. Do I think the Aggies, I believe, it's a really obscure team, sue me, I apologize. Do I think the Aggies are going to win? No. Doug Gottlieb came out and picked against IU. He said that New Mexico State was going to move on. I think that's a ridiculously inane statement to make. Obviously, Doug Gottlieb hasn't watched IU enough this year because, to me, when I look at a team like New Mexico State, they play right into what IU wants to do. IU wants to run. These guys like to run. It's going to be a track meet up and down the floor. IU, I believe, has better athletes. From what I've seen of both teams this year, I've seen some box scores, I've seen some results from New Mexico State's games. They have some athletes. IU has better ones. IU is going to be more effective running the floor. If they get to the free throw line, IU is going to be more effective converting from there. New Mexico State does a good job at limiting three-point opportunities, but it's really hard to limit the Hoosiers' three-point opportunities when they get in transition. Jordan Hulls, Matt Roth, Christian Watford, all deadly, Will Sheehy as well, from three-point range when they get the chance to run and when they get the chance to space. But I don't think IU needs a whole lot of three-point shooting in this game. They need to get to the line, which New Mexico State will allow them to do if they want to run. And a big weakness that the Aggies have, a lack of ability to shoot threes of their own. They're not a very effective team from beyond the arc. Less than 35% on the year. Only 2 shooters on their team, as a matter of fact, who shoot better than 35%. The three-point shot is not a big part of their game plan, and Indiana is one of the more effective teams at defending twos. The three-pointer is their weakness. If they were facing a different team, a team that was able to more take advantage of that than the Aggies are, I would be a little more worried. But really, it doesn't add up well. IU likes to run. Last time they got the chance to really run, they hung 100 on Iowa. New Mexico State cannot shoot the three. Strike 2. And then the fact that they'll allow the Hoosiers to get to the free throw line with the up and down pace. But IU's going to get there just about as much as New Mexico State will. These teams are going to make a living at the line. And knowing that, this game is probably going to finish as late as every IU tournament game, really in my memory, has. I mean, they always start late out on the West Coast. They have trouble there. And this game's going to be slow-paced. There are going to be a lot of free throws. But knowing what we know about both teams, I think I agree with Dan Dockich. He said earlier this week that New Mexico State, Indiana is about as close to a lock as you can get. Picking IU in that great game, I'm inclined to agree with him. Now, looking bigger picture, what does this mean for IU? What's their draw? I mean, honestly, I agree with Avi Zalian of the Indiana Daily Student, who said that he's pretty sure that he saw this region in, Dante's Inferno, one of these circles of hell. Because it's so ridiculously difficult. VCU or Wichita State is going to be waiting in the next game. Kentucky, presumably waiting after that, or a team that's good enough to beat Kentucky, which is about as scary. But, for now, for today, the fact that they're going to go into this game against New Mexico State and have a very good chance to win should be about enough for an IU team that hasn't had a whole lot in the way of recent success, especially in the NCAA tournament. Well, hopefully you enjoy March Madness. Hopefully you enjoyed this March Madness preview. This is Jimmy Cavanaugh saying good night. Travel well. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.